Hi, this is Micornus, Phokane, the leader and the founder of the Church Governance Solutions. I want to speak about some tendencies right now that regarding finances in our churches that are commonly playing right now in this generation. They're commonly playing now in the church of today, in the modern day church. But these are things that delay the progress of the church. I want to highlight some few things that speaks about finances, how we handle finances as churches and as pastors as well, and that delays the progress of the church. The first thing that I want to just check into right now is when a church or a pastor start channeling tithes and offerings directly into their own personal coffers. And this is something that I want to address with passion, I want to address seriously, because many of the churches are not progressing today, because every single cent that gets into the church coffers is going to the coffers of the pastor or the pockets of the pastor directly. And if you run a church like that, you are actually eating out of the resources of the same ministry or the same vision that you told to people that you are called. If you told the people that you are called by God, you've got a vision, and therefore vision needs resources. And those resources, therefore, needs to be taken care of. So you cannot actually misuse the resources and expect the vision to be progressive. So that is why most of the churches are not successful at all, because the monies go directly into the pocket of the pastor. They are not used for the work of the ministry. And that, I want to emphasize it. And there are some areas where it looks like a culture where in some of the areas, particularly in South Africa, it's a common practice where pastors will tell you, no, tithe is for the pastor and offering is for the pastor. So for projects, then the members should actually contribute afresh for the projects. But that is delaying you, because members may contribute for the projects, but because the tithes and the offerings are taken directly into the coffers of the pastor, we're delaying the progress instead of using the very same all monies that come through for the projects of the vision and make sure that the vision is successful. And that will make you progressive as a minister. The other thing that I want to mention, appointment of individuals who are unfaithful with financial matters to handle finances. We have seen this happening in churches whereby we actually appoint people that are handling the finances, but those people are stealing the finances. We are handling this because we are having people that are not faithful with money, people that cannot resist the temptation of stealing money. And this is happening right in churches, and majority of the churches, I must say that be careful. Those people that are counting money, some of them are stealing the money in some of the churches. I'm not saying everyone, but please put the people that are faithful in finances. And then you'll find that your finances will be well managed, and also they will be actually be able to be used properly in the ministry. So if you are therefore not careful, you are going to find yourself appointing people that are not called by God, or that are not actually financial people. These people that will be actually taking the money and stealing it from the coffers of the church, people that will taking the offering and pocket it and so on. And if people are not faithful, so please don't put them to handle money. That becomes very problematic. There's also poor financial records in churches, and that becomes problematic because the more you don't keep proper records, the more many people don't want to be part of that church. And the more when people are part of that church, they don't want to contribute any money anymore because they know that the money is not accounted for. But a church that accounts for the money that is being given, because this is actually public money, that church becomes prosperous because people give more when they see that their money is being used appropriately. And this is very key that we emphasize, because many of the churches, you're wondering, why is your church not having money or financial resources to manage its affairs? Particularly is because of how you handle the money. If you don't keep records, if you don't give feedback about finances, financial reports and so on, you are going to find it difficult to convince the people to give their money while they know that their monies are not accounted for. That's very key that we emphasize that. And also, I want to also speak about lack of budgeting of church finances. You see churches that don't budget, churches that just use money willy-nilly, churches that misuse money. And as a result, therefore, people don't want to give their money where their money is going to a hole. a dark hole that they cannot account for. So that is the problem, that some of the churches are not progressive financially. That's the problem, that some churches don't see money coming in. It's because people have decided not to give, because all their monies are going to a dark hole that they don't know who is accounting for. And that's very, very important. So therefore, I must emphasize that the issue of records, as mentioned earlier, but also we must also emphasize that there must be budgets of the church so that we can account for every single cent that comes in, and we make sure that we don't squander the money, and every money that comes in we are able to account for. And that's very key, and I'm emphasizing this because that is going to help many churches, and that's going to make sure that churches are actually well managed financially, and finances keep on flowing into the church because you are able to budget appropriately. Now, overspending on project is something that's very common, that are not immediate priorities as well. Because when you are having projects, saints, I want to emphasize that in the church, it should be prioritized. We must actually look at those priority projects first and finance those and budget for those and invest in those. Because when you invest in those priority projects, you are going to actually encourage the people, because people are going to see then finances are being used properly, because they can see the project succeeding. And when they see that, therefore, as I said, they are able actually to offer their heart-earned monies again, because they know that the money is being used appropriately in the church. So it's very important, therefore, that you don't overspend on projects. And sometimes we overspend, as I said, on projects that are not a priority right now. Even though a priority, and the project is priority, let us not overspend. Let us use the funds appropriately, and those that the funds that we can afford right now, and don't overspend, because otherwise we run the ministry as well into debts. And when ministries are running into debts, they cannot be self-sustainable. And that is very, very important that we mention that as well. Don't overspend on projects at all. Now, being obsessed as well about using guest speakers, even in normal church services. You have seen pastors that would use guest speakers day in and day out. And remember, those guest speakers, you have to pay them. You have to give them honorarium, actually, for their petrol reimbursement and the cost that they came with. Very important for us to do so, because you cannot call people and not pay them the expenses. This is very important. So therefore, if you are going to use money by inviting speakers every day, even in every service that you could be handling it yourself, you are actually running at a loss, because there are services that you can run them on your own, or those services you can actually utilize your own assistant pastors or some elders in the church that could actually handle some services. And this is very important, that we emphasize that internally we run our own services, and we only call in a guest speaker in specialty programs, whereby if there's a topic that you want somebody to address that specializes in it from our side, that's the reason why you are going to call a guest speaker, and that's a good reason. So please do so, and don't call guest speakers in every Sunday meeting, because if you're doing so, you are running at a serious loss, and we're emphasizing that as Church Governance Solutions. So make sure that you don't normalize your churches with the guest speakers, and that's very, very important. And there are those pastors and ministers that are renting at expensive venues. You don't have a building of your own. You don't have a venue of your own. I understand that. But I want to emphasize that please be prudent in how you use the money. You cannot go, therefore, and rent in a place that is actually more expensive than the earnings that you have every month in the church. So therefore, gauge and know the intake of the church, monthly intake of the church. Gauge and know how much the church can afford. And that's the only time then you can look at a rental place that is affordable. But I want to emphasize as well that let us not stay in rental places forever. Let us not be there permanently. Let us actually be in rental places temporarily and with an aim of moving very soon. Because rent is actually, particularly when it's expensive, is actually a waste of money. So please make sure that you look for affordable rental places while you're still working out to get your own venue. And this is very important that we emphasize that, because sometimes money is actually wasted in rentals that are very expensive and inexpensive places as well. We emphasize that. So buying poor quality equipment as well becomes very problematic, and we've seen this several times in many churches where people buy very cheap products, and they are trying to say they are saving. But the quality of those instruments is going to make you pay more, because remember that cheap is not always cheap, sir. And remember that when you buy very poor quality, they're going to break very often. You're going to spend more money fixing them. And that's something that you must avoid by all means as early as possible. And please don't spend money willy-nilly just because you want to save money. Because when you are trying, therefore, to buy very poor sound system, very low quality equipments, as I said, they will break very often. And the maintenance of those equipments will be even high. It's high maintenance to maintain those things that are deemed to be cheap, but yet they are breaking very frequently. And I want to emphasize that please go for quality. And if you can accumulate money or maybe raise money or give yourself time to raise money and buy quality stuff, buy quality instruments, buy those instruments that will actually take long to break and that don't need high maintenance as well. And that's very important because it will save you quite a lot, a significant amount of money that it will save you. And that's very, very important. I want to check out right here, and I hope that you've learned quite a bit out of this. And I want to also direct you to our YouTube channel under Micornus Phokane. So please subscribe to that. And make sure that you also like our Facebook pages, Micornus Phokane, and also like the Facebook page that speaks about church governance solutions. And I believe that you're going to step into that and make sure that you like those pages. Click notification buttons as well, that you may be notified when we posted a video on those pages so that you can learn out of that. And we believe strongly that you're following us for a purpose and your church shall never be the same again. Your host, Micornus Phokane. Thank you very much for listening to us and be part of this great topic once more. May the good Lord bless you. Let me check out here and say cheers for now.